So I hope to speak English as well, as good as Bob speaks Catalan. But maybe you can help. Yes, so we are lucky because there is also Robin, and that has been Parc Central de Nou Barris. So they have been visiting the park twice, and I have been showing it in Barcelona in occasion of their visit to the city. And so last time I said, okay, why don't you invite us to see your place, as it's a very nice place at Chentelhamm and all that. So he did, so we are very pleased of being here. And of course, as you know now, Barcelona is a tourist city. It wasn't before. So the Barcelona of the 21st century is, this is a photo map, I don't see it very well, but it's a very compact city with an inner center very, very intense, and the grid of that Cerdà placed in the middle of 19th century. But our Parc Central de Nou Barris was in an area that till the 90s had been a suburban, suburbs of the city. So I just wanted to show, because they could never come to our office to see some explanation, so it's a good way in order to show you here some pictures of the city in the 60s. This is the area of Nou Barris. Nou Barris means 9 neighborhoods, and when a lot of people from the south of Spain came to Barcelona in the 60s, 70s, there was arranged these areas for housing, but not a lot of urbanization took place. So you see the exit from the city and these other areas, and this is La Meridiana. So this is exit from going north to France. And you can see a view here of the belt, the second belt of Barcelona. This is 1980. So the democratic government was already in the city one year ago, in the 79. And you see here, more or less, I think it's there, Parc Central de Nou Barris is here. You see the old psychiatric hospital and all this area. It's the land of the old psychiatric that then became the Parc Central de Nou Barris. And you see this belt and how the urbanization was. One of the first things that were planned was this belt. And you see another photo of that belt and this roundabout that is the north part of the Parc Central of Nou Barris. We have a master plan for the city that in 1976 planned the belts, the main arteries, but they were begun, but then they were stopped. And in the 92, in the occasion of the Olympics, one of the things was to redo this belt. So you see now it here. This is the area of Nou Barris. This is the Meridiana. This is the axe that goes to France. And our area is this here. You see here the roundabout, we'll see later. But what I wanted to show you is that this area was a composition of several neighborhoods, that very different one from the other. And they are parts in the mountains. So when we had been working in this area for 8, 10 years, 12. So we thought that it would be interesting to show this work and making a reflection of the city, trying to tell people in the city and the neighborhood that Nou Barris was something that could be beautiful and that had the same views as the richest parts of Barcelona in the east, in the mountains. So we were explaining that, and we did an exhibition in our studio, because at the same time it was taking place the Forum of Barcelona 2004 Forum, that was an occasion for the big city, but this was in a neighborhood, so nobody knew about this. Huh? So you see different places that were interesting for the city of the neighborhood. So you had good views, nice belvederes, nice. And you see, this is Roquetas, it's a neighborhood that was auto-constructed. And so this reading of the whole area was interesting in order to know how to speak about the beauty of the sky, of the elements, and to, I don't know, Andreu, if you, let me sit down. So there is a book here that we did after this reading that is Barcelona Periferia Cubista, that explains what was common to know and what the photographers show that it was that also the new city was beautiful, not just the old architecture and the cathedral. So one of the qualities of this area is the infrastructure. The relationship between infrastructure and landscape was crucial because all the entries of the highways in the city enter from the north, and we had to take advantage of that. So this is the first belt, this belt that was speaking Bob. So tried to, with a photographer, that was a very good photographer, did this photograph to show that this area had these beautiful things, comparing with some poems. And it was not a very bad area, because you see, they were, when the belt was done, these basketball courts were placed on top of the belt, some amenities were built. So you see here you put no barriers, so it's an area that was cared, it was not very difficult. And also that the built fabric of this part, you had to take advantage of the variety of it to reading the urban tissue as well as the open space at the same times, and explaining that all this variety had an interest, from the auto construction till the big skies of the main building. So this could be like sculptures of Chillida, for example, on the sky. But of course, the main difficulty that we think that we are, let's call what we speak now is that we are specialists in urban civic projects. So what we understand by that is that we take care of the building, the relationship between the building, the open space, and the infrastructure, and make connection between these three elements. What happens in this area is that the buildings are placed there and there's no connection with the land around. This is a very clear example where you have this building, but nothing that makes the connection with the land around. So that makes suburbia in our idea. So we are here. This is the Parc Central de Nou Barris, but there was an attempt of this decentralization of the city. So there was in the city, in the middle 80s, there was an interest of decentralization of the city in the neighborhoods. So they put the municipality of Nou Barris in this area, in an old psychiatric that was here, in the middle of nowhere. And the intention was to create a civic center around the psychiatric and put the municipal buildings, the services, the technical services, the main library, and amenities and housing around. Okay? And then this was the Plaza Virreymen, that was the main plaza, where the roundabout and the metros and the buses were there. So there was an attempt of creating a center, Nou Barris Central, within the whole area of 9 neighborhoods. Okay? This was the main plaza that we also did within the competition. And these are a main plaza that tend to be more symbolic. And we make together this element. But the connection to the north it's like 700 meters. And what was the intention was to connect this plaza to the main area there. Only 700 meters, but completely disconnected, because there was not there anything. Okay? So these elements that we call palmas in diapason, tuning forks and palms, were placed in the plaza and in the other area to remind you, to recall you that there was something to go there. And the technical services of the neighborhood arranged widen how we call that? So this is the same signs are in the top of the Parc Central de Nou Barris, where is the roundabout. And these are the entry of, you see at the right-hand side, the old psychiatric building, turned to be the new municipal services, and this entry plaza. Okay? So this is the idea, the neighborhood where we are in Barcelona in the 90s. So the center was completely compact and well, and this area was very bad, and we were working there. This was it's a 1929 plan where you see the psychiatric building, like 500 meters of length by 100 meters of width, connected with the Plaza Virrey Amat with the main neoclassical arcs. And this is the Ronda and the Carrer Vall d'Aura. So these were the lands around the psychiatric, vineyards all over, not a lot of trees, and the main streets. You see this, I don't know the time. You see the old psychiatric, this connection to the center, and this area completely void. These areas are round, but lately in the 60s, you see how the buildings were completely going around and eating the main fields. And this is the photo map. I don't see, they are cutting, the image cut the name. 1987. Oh, no, yes, more or less. And you see how, no, 1992, this is the new building that they tore down a part of the old psychiatric building, and they put a new building for the Olympics, just to make a new building, and a small lake and a hill to hide a lot of housing, abusive housing that were there. And you see the roundabout and the streets around. You see that area around, the old, and how the new buildings were eating the place of the psychiatric hospital that was here. This psychiatric hospital was placed by Léon Josely in 1905 in a plan, and in the mountains because it was a healthy place. But what you can see here, I think what we do in our project, we try to look a lot in the photo map, the orthophoto, to read exactly what is there, how it was, in order to make a proposal that fits into the place and makes a unity of the different pieces, makes a new landscape. And you see here how it was, some photographs of this building with walls, making differentiation between different areas. This building with the lake, and a small lake in order to make it beautiful. This was the old aqueduct and the surroundings. This was very nice. There were some orchards that were there. You see this is from above, a new housing that was already placed there. And you see, this is the existing situation, and we were proposing to the team of that new municipality how these walls could be transformed into slopes, how these big buildings with parking lots around, the parking could be placed down the street and enlarge this plaza around the building, and how the main access to the city center could be put it at level, and in order to demolish these several courtyards that were hiding the building from the street, and making an opening through the courtyard inside and a connection from one part to the other. So connection, 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 putting at level relationship between buildings and plazas. And why don't you speak? Do you want to speak that? So I made a trip to Horta de Sant Joan. Horta de Sant Joan is in Tarragona. Is where Picasso in 1909 did 2 or 3 main Cubist paintings. That what was interesting about these Cubist paintings for us is that he was giving the same importance to the walls of the houses and the fields. The fields. You see, the fields and the housing had the same shapes. Everything was the same. So we tried to do in our area, as these buildings and the open space, to treat them as in the same way, because the shadows of the buildings were on top of the open space, and there was a lot of triangularizations between what is the propriety of the blocks of residential housing and in the exterior. So we had this idea, but not formally, not copying a painting, but conceptualizing the idea of using the triangle to adapt the smallest parts of the plan and make them together and make a new area, a new landscape, let's say. And as here there was the main umbilical connection to the Plaza Virrey Amat, we tried to open a lot of different perspectives. So tried to connect this inner part that was like inside of a castle with a big wall made by the residential buildings. We tried to open all these elements, all these streets, and have different visions of this landscape. So here we had you see the remnant of the hospital and all these elements, and we tried to cut through and go upstairs. Well, also it shows the position of the different amenities, because there were proposed to put a library here in the open space. We said, no, it's better to place it up there. So in the beginning, it was just a question of tearing down parts of the main psychiatric building in order to put a plaza in front of the building. And we produced a scheme that told the people in that area that even if you were doing some work, it will be non-crucial if you were not connecting all this space to the main area of the city where the new belt was, because you would be always marginal inside of a neighborhood without not explaining what is there, not facing the urban situation. So we tried that this kind of pavements, the pavement you would see there, that is also a piece of triangle, we decided to use different colors of terrain, of ground, and make a differentiation of these triangles also within the pavement, because we had to put pavement apart from grass. And we studied how to do it in three-dimensionally, to put this cubist landscape three-dimensionally and use it in urban design, how to treat all these elements from that drawings, building models, and also trying to open this neoclassical street that was leading to the main plaza, to open it in different plazas and opening the trees forming this plaza. This is the main courtyard that was open at level. Before there were like a neoclassical building, with stairs and close. We put it at level and we opened these areas. And so this was, and from the first phase of the park was from 4 years, 2000, no, yes. So the municipality elections are 4 years and 4 years. So the first municipal elections, they did the first part of the park, and it was open in 1999 or 2000. So this is the first part. That it's, in fact, it is a plaza, extending the plaza around the psychiatric building and putting it at level. You see a lot of triangles here because it's a composition, but the scale is quite big. So now I have been there, and it's quite nice because it's a grand scale. It's a 16 hectares park. The buildings around are high, and so it doesn't, this kind of detailing doesn't seem, at place doesn't seem a lot of design. I mean, over design, it's not over design. But this is to show you that from the small detail till the water elements, we were using the same kind of design, triangular shape, in order not to lose this concept from the general concept of cubist landscape till the detail. Don't to lose yourself in different kinds of languages, because you had to keep very straight into a kind of language in order to cope with different phases, and also with the expropriation of the housing, transforming pieces of different parts of the park. And so this is part of the first area. So water. This area had been inhabited mostly by Andalusians. And there are a lot of fountains, you know, Granada fountains, Arabs fountains, and all that. So we tried to, they asked us to put some fountains. So we were also with this idea of itinerary, of making things together. We tried to put several elements of fountains with place that could help to go and to move there, because this was a completely empty space. It has no use. So we were placing these fountains, and we were putting some like constellations of jets and sky to make it more gentle, because the politician was saying, but Andreu, Carmen, then you are going to put everything very connected, very, very well connected, but we are not going to, it would seem that you have done anything. No? Why don't you design some pergolas, some elements that could identify this area as being a very cool area, a very design area, no? So this was why we did that. And also because we planted like 1,200, a lot of trees and bushes and all that, but before there weren't any. Some of them we kept, but we needed some artificial trees, and these were artificial trees made by wood and sustainable materials in this sense that could be used at night also to orientate your path. So this was the first part of the park. It was a big celebration by San Juan, and people gathering around. There was the red Barcelona all together here. And so you feel the new plaza. They put a no barris retul, this picture there, in order to make marriages here, and full of people and all that. So it was a very big success. Okay, so you see the scale is big, and I show you this was the first area of the park that arrived till this street that connected to the main street of the city here. And you see a fountain there, a fountain there, a fountain there. We placed another fountain there because we wanted to demolish that was an old church, and this is the market. The amenities of the area were there. So this was this new building that now is very active, but at that moment it wasn't. The new library here. Now this area you make a lot of festivals. So all that we were demolishing this part, putting the parking beneath. And this is the belt, already done in the 92. The new housing that was being built. And you see how the scheme had to cope with the demolition of these buildings that were in the middle, because they were planned, they were fixed in the master plan as a park. And so the first phase of the park was, the idea was very triangular, because we had to connect these 7 meters, this difference of level here, and widening the space around the building and put this connection. And in the second part of the park, as this big building was placed in a level of 120 above the sea, but in a platform as a neoclassical building, and the other part of the park was steep, so there were 40 meters of difference of level. So we had to invent a flexibilization of the triangle in order to wind and connect with the mountains, the hills that they were there. And the space also was a little bit less, so we tried to with the scissors, make 2 difference of levels in order to put more at grade with the housing in front, the space of land, the triangular space, and having a kind of a slope around 4% in order to be used as a flat area, as a garden, and connected with this. So this is the inspiration of the palms and tuning forks. This is Aigües Mortes in the south of France. It's in Catalan, Aigües Mortes. And also this model that we were building for the next part of the park, the one that winds up until the hills. You see also, I think paintings inspire you a lot, because artists are devoted to experience all these kind of shapes connecting with sensation. So as architects or landscape architects, we have to cope with a lot of different things, functions and other things. So we don't have time to do that. So we take their investigations in order to use it in our 3-dimensional landscapes. So you see before and after. So what was segmentation, what is fragmentation, what are walls are transformed into slopes, in order to make this connection more fluent. You see here the cross-section, this urban axe. The idea was, these are drawings from Andreu, the ones before were mine, but this is this cut through the building in order to put at level and connect this axe. And the other one is the difference of levels and how to connect them. We were saying topographical. I think topography is something that is the most important in order to achieve this connectivity and put things at hand. So we studied carefully this topography, and also in order to see that the slope here is less than here. And we were trying to, these slopes, make a plaza, a green area that faces these houses here. Okay? We put there, at the level of the roundabout, a plaza because there wasn't there. There was just a big slope facing this street. You would see later, and how to connect that from there. So you see the organization of these triangles. Well, I put that because this is the irrigation system of the whole area, of all these trees, bushes, and all that. I don't know how they put all this kind of irrigation, but we were supposed to put that. And the areas, well, we don't see here because it enlarges a lot, but here there is an entrance from the city lake. These triangles of water are there. And from the first phase of the park that you had this area, the second phase of the park, we transformed this street like in a rambla. This is the second part. Between one phase and the other, the politician, we were discussing how to cross. This was a new street that would cross the park in half. We didn't want this street to cut the park in half because this idea of connecting this part till the roundabout and how do you call that, this motorway? The motorway was important in order not to be like marginal and inside. And so we had been planning different kinds of overpassing this element, or bridge or no bridge. But at the end, they thought that they hired an engineer, and they were saying, let's put a slope, and that's it, and a tube. So this torrent that was there was completely cut, and we found this big barrier. So we organized with this idea of water, like a lake on either side of this new street, and because of that, you would see that some play with fountains and elements was trying to give memory of this element. The idea of the vegetation. This is a plaza about 100 meters. This is a slope, this is green, like an amphitheater, because we have, so in every one of these plazas, the vegetation is different and is formed by two kinds of trees. One that it's high because of the scale, it's evergreen, and the other one that contrasts with color and it's not evergreen. And it depends on the area, they are more, it changes. There are a lot of different elements. You see there are three here, 3 olives. I placed 3 because, you know, after all this kind of urbanization, what happens is that there is no, it has happened to me before, there is no money for plants. And I said, but if this is a park, why there is no money for plants? So I put a lot of them in order that they could be, so here we just have an olive tree now, but there is 3, there are 3, okay? And all this kind of elements. These elements, there are things that are interesting that, for example, because of the water systems and the pump systems, we arranged falling water with 3 cascades there. But in the middle of when it was the licitation of the project, they said, well, but just one falling water.
The water system and the street that passes by here, because as Carmen was saying, that was a long discussion on how to trespass the park with this new street, because an important connection in terms of traffic. So we were playing with the idea of making or a tunnel or a bridge, so a bit like in Central Park, how Central Park treats the street that crosses the park. So, and at the end, well, after this discussion, and also because of the budget that we had for that, which was a strong issue, it can be a little read, this original idea, but still there is that bridge, which is not such a big bridge as it was intended at the beginning, and the idea of the park passing under the street was kept with the idea of water at two sides, because originally in that part it was an ancient stream of water, a gully running from the Sierra de Collserola down the city. So we keep that memory, leaving water on both sides, and then reinforcing that idea that the park was passing underneath. In fact, and this is true because this tremendous and complex irrigation system that Carmen showed in one of the slides before, this is fed by a phreatic water which goes by the same stream, and also which is kept in this dot line. This is a varied reservoir, a tank, which is collecting this phreatic, then feeds the irrigation of the park, and also is part of a system that is in the city of Barcelona, because the rains are extremely seasonary, meaning that it rains a lot in few occasions during the year, and then the sewer system of Barcelona has not enough capacity for these peaks of rain. So the solution is to have several reservoirs, tanks, to hold that water when it comes. So, and this was installed in the park, and it's part of this system of irrigation.
A space for new housing, for young people, for elder people, and this aqueduct that was transformed into a new path, and this big bridge to make this connection. Okay, I'm just showing photographs. The placing of these elements here, that are the pounds and tuning forks in the upper part, that you see here, there are like 7, and then they became 3. This idea that when the politician and the technician, they are cutting, you have something to rely on. For example, there were different possibilities of paving it or not paving, or how to pave, so you would see different drawings of the big scale trees here, and this to be just a parterre, no? But in fact, what we had to do is to make it more simple, because this possibility of the triangle to insert greenery inside, in fact, it's difficult to maintain for a public park. So we try to be paved or not paved. But you see the scale of these elements in comparing with the housing. Okay. And
a photo.
Huh? Sí, photos. Okay. Well, this kind of variety, it's always set in a kind of pattern system in order to control the variety. And you see these tuning forks, the construction of it, and how in the first area they are vertical, orthogonal to the soil, more related to the neoclassical language of the building. And in the upper parts, they return a little bit, they are obliquous to the soil. Okay, the slopes. These slopes are always 1 to 2. And they are in brick, in thick brick, in order to be more related to the soil. And then we'll see then, but these elements are prefabricated concrete. This is the aqueduct with the curtain fence or railway. You see the elements of the pavement, the triangular element that are placed in lines, and they are different. There is a repetition of 7 rows in order that it looks that they are different, and they're expecting you this dynamicity when you are working. They are not always the same. The same section of the concrete is for the stairs. This is the drainage system that I don't think it works very well because, I don't know, well, it's not bad, no? You have this, and then in order to maintain the same kind of element, the triangle, and how do you create the top. I think it's quite well maintained. Andreu was showing the position of this reservoir. You see it here. Here you can see you see the multiplicity of palms and tuning forks here, and in fact there are 5, or 3. And you see here are the bushes. I don't remember now which one I placed. And here the trees. Also, they were completed more than, you see, they are full. They look like in the reservoir. So now that I see these photographs, I'm thinking, but how can this be built? I mean, because this is like a peel of the element, and it was all cut for a reservoir. You would see the different things. These buildings were existing, this long building. And we love construction. I love construction, so we were doing photos of the elements, of these elements that I was showing. These are small. Then I think you would see it better. But it's incredible how they were, these kind of firms, they are doing landscape as they were doing sewages. We were very ashamed because one of the topographers was one that has just, well, when you were making the layout, you had to be very careful. And it happened that we could not change a lot of things because they were like 3 meters more, or 1 3 meters more, because these curves move in the site. You see, you have the palms and tuning forks here beginning to be placed, already placed, and I was fearing for the wood. This is the amphitheater. In fact, we don't want to decorate concrete normally. We try, but in this case, we thought that concrete would not be welcome in this area, because it will be painted, it will be... So we thought to use ceramic as Picasso a little bit with the color, like in order to make this landscape more visible. And this is the bridge where these fountains were. This is a sample organization to see how the pumps were working. So we said, well, we are going to make like a contemporary Tivoli fountain. You know, Tivoli, it was already much we were putting. So you see the materials, these bricks. This is the under bridge, yes. This for us. I was just hiding because this column had not to be here, you know. If the length of this beam was bad. So we had to take it. And this is the underpass with the services for the gardeners, for the electrical services and all that. You saw that before. These are the olive trees. In that area that I showed you that I put 3 instead of 1. In fact, we wanted that they were coming from Tarragona because they were beautiful olive trees. But I don't know how the organization of the work was that they were coming from Italy. Okay, so you see the lamps that we designed over a lot of years in the middle of all that, so it was terrible. And this is a housing, the housing that was in this area too. So it was already inhabited, it was still inhabited, so we had to keep it here, we like it. You see also the construction. Meanwhile, there was a person here who was fighting to get his parcel bigger with someone in the municipality that was helping him. I don't know why, but in fact, they were putting this terrible wall along the parcel. And you see that these trees were there, we maintained them. You see, this is the cascade, the falling water, with the impermeabilization of the brick there. The new path, recovered part of the old aqueduct that was bringing waters of the city. Well, this is the lake. And you see the trees. You see the construction of this, what we call Sydney Lake. because of this. Because in the first part, they are all triangles, and this time we try to be more gentle. I see that this is very thin now. About construction, here is the roundabout, Karl Marx roundabout, Karl Marx Plaza. So we made another plaza connecting the roundabout, making it a plaza and not a roundabout. And so they were very frightened about this, because these people could argue against this slope, but it was solved. Nobody make a problem. Because in the first part of the park, we tried to do a very how to explain you that the main street, there were centennial maple trees, and we wanted to open them in order to make several plazas. And all the neighborhood was against. There was big papers. We just have these centennial trees, and they want to cut them off. So we said, okay, we're going to connect the private spaces of that buildings, but through the soil and having the trees in the same place. But after that, everything went well. Because in that area, no public work has been done before. So they were very frightened, the neighborhood and the association, the neighborhood association, about what is the municipality going to do that. So this is one of the photos from a building, from the first part. And you see this is the fountains, and this the main street that was opened to connect this area also transversally to the city center, apart from the belt. So this is the plaza. So these elements, we wanted to put some trees there, but it was impossible. I don't know why. Within the houses.
No parking or sota.
Ah, there is a parking. Okay, I tried to put it, but nobody put it. But now it seems that it's cool like that. Okay, so better. You see the triangles of these elements. So this building looked very badly. So we had to renovate somebody else renovated the facade in order to take the plaster off and leave the brick. You see this existing building there. This was the old church in the back of that building, so we had to make these slopes to connect with the market there and the main. You have seen this before. So try to enlarge this lake. We enlarged that lake and put these elements to connect with the restaurant that was already placed there. So we tried to make the connection between buildings and the open space, giving entries and flexibility of use to the open space and the buildings. And also it's the same view before you use that. So this is the plaza of the. Now it has changed because they are very old photographs. Now they have bikes here, things. The trees are completely huge. They're big. You don't see practically these elements of the. So this is like a rambla that connects. This is this fountain without the water between the old building and that new building. And you'll see several photographs of this. So you can go through, you can pass through that lane. These are the pipes. We copied that from the ski, when you go to a ski resort. And there is no snow. In the mountains of the Pyrenees, it normally happens, so you need this to through the snow. So we thought that this could be a good thing to through the snow, to through the water. This amphitheater wanted to be more gentle than the other one, like being a ramp and also walking like that. This would have to be restored. Now it's just empty, waiting for renovation. The first new housing that you have been seeing. You don't see that. Now these trees are like that. I mean, are big, Okay. This is the path under the bridge with the services for the park. You see that bridge, it was it's like 15 meters wide. Yes, we wanted to be the whole platform, a connection, like the park bridging there. But they were afraid that the marginality of this area could be hidden under this bridge. So what is important is that down there are parkings, and all these paths of the park connect with streets in the neighborhood. So it's the garden from the neighborhood. You connect from these two levels. Also, this is transformed into a, I don't know how it's so red, it transforms to a path. And you can go down and also connect through these Sydney platforms to another place. This, you see, you have all this because it was supposed to have a big cascade, a big waterfall, all the wall, but they stopped. And so you have like a big room underneath for doing rave parties, because no bombs are there. You see, you go down. We wanted to be very earthy, so these slopes are just with brick. And this is like a cut. So in order, when you go up to the mountains, it becomes narrow. So you had to make this difference of level in order to see that there's more distance between one side and the other. So this works as green rooms. And have put a big palmeraie here. I think it looks, it's like the photograph that you make. So these are new housing. You see this is the roundabout and the platform. How do you go down? In fact, here there was also an amphitheater, but they finished the money in this upper part, so they leave it out. And I'm showing how, well, you see that. And this is the existing building, housing building, that was very, I mean, these buildings, as there was no open space, the people that were placed here were using the inner courtyard for traffic and also the exterior area too. So this new building was done when we were doing the park. So we were playing, we wanted to do also some part of built fabric within a park as we were treating this. And we did this tower because we wanted to have not to have this wall all along that was planned in the special plan, in order to make all these penetrations from the streets, from every part, and have a plaza there to make it more connected with the neighborhood. And I think I am closing in order to speak with you more informally, showing this is our studio where we organized the first exhibition and then it became a book, and that I brought it here, Barcelona Periferia Cubista. And we did this exhibition, and this is our studio where we placed in the windows this part in order to bring, to bring periphery or suburbs with the center more together. Okay? So you see the park. That's it.